Thank you. With that, I will be abstaining on items number 13 and 14. Mayor Pro Tem Withelder will take over from here.
Thank you, Your Honor. Item number 13 is a consideration of approval of a 5-year 911 enhancement plan. Mr. Marshall and Chief Tanner Chief, are you going to comment on this at all as well with Mr. Marshall? Oh, you passed the buck? Thank you.
Yeah, this. This item is a plan to show, can I give the council and mayor and citizens an overview of the goals that we have for 911 and how we intend to move forward, and it gives us some options as far as how we fund it in the future.
Is it necessary for any public comment on this?
Not unless the council would like.
Any questions from council or any comments from council? Mr. Hayes?
I would just like, just briefly explain the goals to those that are here and those that are watching, just why this is needed.
Obviously, with 911 being of vital importance to our citizens in the case of an emergency, we've created some goals to help improve that service and give quicker and more accurate aid when it's needed. I can let Larissa give some more detail if she'd like to.
Part of upgrading the 911 system will be connecting to the selective router, which will then, any cell phones, when you call 911, will come directly into Mesquite instead of Las Vegas, and that has to be, we have to be a part of the selective router in order to do that. Currently, we are not part of the selective router, and all the 911 phone calls that you dial on your cell phone go to Las Vegas, and then you have to tell them that you need medical, and then you have to tell them that you're in Mesquite and for it to be transferred to us. So there is a time frame if you call on your cell phone for it to get back to us if you're in within the city of Mesquite.
What sort of a time delay does that entail? Do you have any idea?
It all depends on the type of call and how frantic the caller is, if they can get out that they need medical, and then they have to also get out that they are in the city of Mesquite so that Clark County Fire and or Metro can transfer it up to our dispatch center.
And I guess there have been some cases of duplicate addresses and people and ambulances and fire trucks, whatever, being sent to wrong addresses in wrong cities, and if everything isn't properly identified.
Exactly. Las Vegas has a Mesquite Boulevard. Las Vegas has an Arrowhead Boulevard. You know, there has been circumstances that they send them to those addresses because the caller wasn't specific enough, or the dispatcher who was on the other end did not hear that they said Mesquite, and they sent them to the places in Las Vegas.
Good, thank you. George?
Yeah, just sort of to embellish on this, it's in the backup here, which I think is interesting. The most urgent issues in the system hardware will be soon unsupported also. So what we have today will not be supported shortly, and obviously that's an issue. The second issue relates to the wireless phone, which you just spoke to, and the third one, the third issue established a consistent funding source. So, although it is my understanding that although this provides for a consistent funding source, we are not at this point suggesting that we have one or create one.
This right now, all we're doing is giving the options. Right now, the funding source would be out of the general fund unless we had a grant or something of that nature. This gives us the option to tie into the, to create a 911 surcharge, which the state allows. This is one of the first steps we would have to take in order to do that, to have a plan in place. And this outlines all the steps that we would have to take if we chose to do that, but we are not doing that at this point. That's not part of this.
Good. I think that's the clarification, that we have no intention of doing that at this point. Thanks.
Any further comments from council? Carl? I'm sorry, I can't see the lights from here. But if you, are you ready to make a motion, or you have a comment?
I'm ready to make a comment, and I will make a motion.
Okay, well, go ahead.
Okay. The comment I want to make is this is something that I think this community has been asking for. And they've been asking for it in a pretty definite way for about 5 or 6 years. There's been real concerns in this committee, so I'm glad to see us that we're finally to this point. I don't think there's any question on anybody's mind whether this is something that's needed or not, but I just wanted to make that comment that there's been tremendous interest in this and a lot of requests for this going back as long as I've been involved. So with that, I'll go ahead and make a motion.
Thank you.
Okay, I would move that we approve the 5-year 9/11 enhancement plan.
Second.
With all staff recommendations.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? We don't have the lights, but motion passes. Well, I can't control that. I haven't graduated there yet. Okay, we'll piggyback that onto item number 14. It's a consideration of approval of an agreement with CenturyLink Sales Solutions Incorporated to provide those 911 services. Mr. Marshall, continue, please.
Yeah, we have worked with several vendors and have chosen CenturyLink to provide the 911 service. They are the only vendor in the region that provides the selective router that we need to connect to for the wireless services. We're also working with them to coordinate the upgrades to the 911 system, and that's part of this contract as well. So we have Evelyn Ely with CenturyLink. She is here tonight if you have any questions of CenturyLink.
Are they competitive as price-wise as anybody else that's even remotely local?
For the upgrades, we did look at 3 different vendors for the system upgrades, and this was the most cost-effective option we found. It actually is going to cost less if you take out the selective router part of it. The hardware upgrades and everything will cost less than what we're paying now for the current system.
Comments from council? Mr. Rapson.
Yeah, obviously the cost is nominal, and I agree with Councilman Gustavson, but just for the public's, it's $5,000 annually, $61,000. That's not the incremental cost of what we're paying now. That is the total all-in cost under the new system, correct?
For this, there are a couple additional costs that are not in this contract because they're through a different vendor, one through Reliance and one through Moapa Telephone, in order to get the link between here, but those are much smaller costs.
Okay, but I guess my point is that we're paying something like $48,000 or $47,000.
Yeah, it's $42,000 now.
Okay, 42.
And the upgrade costs alone would be about $40,000 a year.
Okay,
And then the rest is the cost to connect to the selective router.
very good. Thank you.
Comments from council? Seek a motion. Mr. Rapson.
Yeah, I'll move to approve the agreement with CenturyLink Sales Solution to provide 911 services.
Call for a second.
Second.
Mr. Lippman, second. Call for the vote. All in favor? Raise your hand. Aye. Motion passes. Thank you.